people talk about having to have a business that runs without you. You've just not got to have a business that runs without you. That's not enough. You've got to have a business that grows without you, that can solve problems without you, that can recruit and hire without you, if you ever want to sell.
James Ashford is an entrepreneur who built a software company from nothing. No funding, no industry credibility, and no shortcuts. And yet, he scaled it into a category-defining product and sold it for a life-changing 8 figures.
I knew what I needed to do. And so the biggest thing I had to focus on and harness was my energy throughout this. And so people don't talk about energy enough in business. Talk about time, talk about money. Energy is finite. So I needed all of my energy to get through this.
James believes most businesses don't fail because of bad ideas. They fail because founders refuse to systemize, productize, and get out of their own way. What would you say to people who are saying, well, my service, my industry is bespoke?
Yeah, when I hear the word bespoke, I just translate that as nightmare.
I'm Nicola Sands. If you want to scale your business without burning out and build something that can actually run and grow without you, this episode of Success Means Business is one you can't afford to miss. Welcome to the podcast, James.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here. We've been trying to get you on for a while. Now, GoProposal, that is what you sold for a life-changing amount of money. But what gave you the inspiration and what was the problem that you were originally trying to solve?
Yeah, so I'm going to have to rewind a few years. So I had a marketing agency, and what the frustration I always had was sat with a potential customer, and then you get to the end of the meeting and they always ask the question, which is, right, how much is this going to cost? And everyone gives the same answer, which is, well, I'll send you a proposal by close of play Friday. It's like this magical, mythical time. And Friday comes and goes, and then you send it out the following week. So you've already let the client down. And it just really frustrated me, thinking I must be able to productize my offer in such a way that I could sit with a client and have a menu of services and say, this is what it's going to cost. And just to have that honest conversation with them, like, we avoid that pricing conversation because we don't want the confrontation. But if it's a menu, it's like, well, look, this, in my expert opinion, this is what you need. How does that look price-wise? And if it's too much, cool, what do you want to take out? Like, we're not going to negotiate on price, but we can remove items and I can lower the overall cost of the project. So I did that for myself in that business. And then I started working with a series of other businesses as a consultant years later. And I kept solving the same problem for them, because what I found was that it didn't matter what problem that business had. If you could just fix the way that they sold their services, if they could charge more, sell quicker, convert at a higher rate, and empower more of their team to sell the services, it solved so many other problems downstream. So I just kept solving it for business after business until I finally met the accounting industry.
Why do you think people are so scared of that pricing conversation?
There's a few things, and you have to kind of get into psychology, really, is that ultimately our brain is there to protect us. It's not there to give us a six-pack or make us a millionaire, right? So it's there to keep us primitively by the fire, with the tribe, away from the saber-toothed tiger, and to keep us safe. And so we all have this innate fear of rejection. We don't want to lose the connection with the person. We don't want to be rejected. And the other thing is we don't want to find out maybe that we're not good enough. So there's a lot of fear that comes with that conversation. And then you couple that with the fact that no one likes selling, because we've all experienced bad salespeople in the past. And so we have this negative association with being a salesperson. We don't want to be identified as it. We don't want to be overselling. So there's so much going on that makes us afraid of that situation. And then the other thing is that one of the things we observe, so Heather is my operations director in GoProposal. What we found was that women especially find it even harder to stand up for a price. Women struggle to ask for pay rises more than a man would struggle to ask for a pay rise. And so we attracted a lot of female accountancy firm owners, because what this gave them was a protection. It's not me, I'm not giving you the price, it's the system giving you the price. So it gave them this, they referred to it as this shield of protection when they were stood there. Just like if you went to a restaurant, you don't fall out with the waiter or the waitress about the price of a meal. Like, it's there. If you don't want to spend that much, don't have the champagne, have the Prosecco. Like, take a starter off. So it just takes the emotion out of the whole process and makes it logical. So what we attempted to do was to stop it being a psychological problem and turn it into a logical problem, which we could then fix.
So you had your marketing agency. You noticed that people were scared of the pricing conversation.
Yeah.
Did you encourage people at that point just to say what the price was in the opening meeting, in the original meeting, rather than sending a proposal later?
100%. So the other thing is, like, I've got kids, right? And let's say I come to a meeting with you and you're going to price up what it's going to cost me for me to work with you, right? And you're going to set, so I've driven here, I've got an hour meeting with you now, but you're not going to give me a price, you're going to send it afterwards. Okay, I'll show you my diary afterwards. When do you think I'm now going to look at that price? When do you think I'm going to look at your proposal? Is it going to be the amount of after school clubs that my kids go to, getting my kids ready in the morning? It's like they're going camping every day to school, like just preparing the shit they need to get to where they want to be. And then I've got meetings, I've got phone calls, I've got places to be, etc. So when do you think I'm going to focus on your proposal? You've lost your chance you've lost my focus. So what happens is you send it through next week. I won't have time to look at it. You'll message me, you'll text me. I won't have time to respond. It's not because I don't want it. I'm just busy. At some point then you'll make an assumption that it's because I'm not interested. You might have called me 4 times. You might have sent me 3 emails, sent me a WhatsApp message. I've not replied to you. So you now think it's something wrong with the proposal. So then you may then go straight onto the defensive saying, hey, James, I've tried messaging you a few times. I've not heard from you. If the price is too high, we can always reduce the price, or I can work with you within your budget or whatever. So now you're on the back foot and it's got nothing to do with that because you've made an assumption. Where if we're in that meeting together, we can have the conversation. And if there's something I don't like about the price, it's too much. It's dead simple. What do you want to take out? I'm not going to reduce the price. There's such a problem gets caused when you discount. If you offer a discount to it, you cause so many issues further down the line. But if you've got a defensible menu of services, you productise your offering, there's no emotion in it. It's dead straightforward.
And GoProposal was for the accountancy industry. So how did you go from general marketing to working with the accountancy sector?
Yeah, so I think the route was I went from marketing agency to a waste management company to a plasterer to a loft conversion company. So it was just like business after business. And every time I took it into a different business, I had to make some, I took new learnings, I made some adjustments. And what I was doing each time was developing a process, developing a little bit of technology, and also a mindset shift. So one of the key things in a business is that if you're the business owner, you think you're the only person that can price and sell the services, and your junior member of staff has got no interest in doing that. Okay, so we have to adjust mindsets as well. So it's not just a technical problem, but a change in culture, mindset, values, etc. So I kept going from business to business, and then I was part of a mastermind group in Harrogate, and an accountant came along from Manchester, and I said, would you like me to review your process? I'm looking for a new accountant, as I can come and have a meeting with you, and I can kind of give you some feedback on your process as well. So I went and met him, and so I drove from Yorkshire, where God's from, and he lives in Manchester, where it just there's this one tunnel that you go through on the train, and you can be like in a t-shirt and sunny on that side of the tunnel. You just hit this wall of rain on the other side.
Yeah,
as you get
sounds
into
about
Manchester.
right in Manchester, definitely.
So I went and met him, and really good guy, really liked the process. Got to the end of the meeting, and I said, right, well, where do I sign? He said, it doesn't work like that. I've got to send you a proposal, an engagement letter and stuff. I'm like, okay. So I left the meeting, and the funny thing was there was a book, like you've got books here, right? So there was a book I saw on the side when I was in the meeting, and I ordered it on Amazon. Well, the book was at home the next day. I'd still not had the guy's proposal, right? So a couple of days later, he sent the proposal through, by which point I talked myself out of it because I thought it was too much. And then a week or two later, he rang me up and he said, oh, what did you think of the process, etc. I said, I thought it was shit. He said, well, we're better than the other accountants at this. I said, yeah, but I'm not comparing you to them. I can compare you to whoever I want. I'm comparing you to the Uber that I booked when I was on the train that brought me straight to your office. I'm comparing you to Amazon, who delivered that book and had it to me. Whether you think that's fair or unfair, I can compare you to any business experience I want, and comparatively, your business experience was really bad. But thankfully, I know how to solve it, so I'll fix it for you. So I developed some tech, changed his mindset. So at the time, he had 13 members of staff. He was the only person that could price and sell. I said, how would it be if we could get your most, so this was one of the briefs, your most junior member of the team, 17-year-old Sam, if we get your most junior member of the team to be able to price and sell to your most complicated client, would that be a big breakthrough in your business? You're like, it'd be unbelievable, right? But you look at a waiter and a waitress in a restaurant, they're doing exactly the same thing. A junior member of staff can sell a complicated meal to a complex group of people with starters and side orders and drinks and all this stuff. What's happening in that accountancy firm, the equivalent was, there's no waiter, there's no waitress, there's no menu, and you have to go and pester the busiest member of the team, the head chef, to figure out the price on a meal by meal basis.
So it's so interesting when you look at it that way. But can I just ask you a quick question at this point? What would you say to people who are saying, well, my service, my industry is bespoke. I just can't have a menu because every job is bespoke. What do you say to that?
Yeah, when I hear the word bespoke, I just translate that as nightmare. Like you've got to, so again, we're going back to mindset issues. This is not a technical problem to solve. This is a mindset issue to solve. And so you've got to get out of the mindset. First of all, you don't want a bespoke offering. That is not helpful to anybody. It's not helpful to you. It means that it's very difficult to run a business. It means you'll have a job in that business, and it's not useful for the customer as well. And so we talked about this earlier in that you've got to be able to productize your offering, okay? And it's to start with the belief that there's always a way, okay? It might be difficult. You might have to work through a few iterations, but there is always a way.
Any business can be productized.
Any business can be productized. I did this. I tell you, one of the other businesses that I did this with on the journey was a friend of mine who's got a fantastic garden design company, and he said, "Yeah, but we can't do it because every project is different. It's not possible to come up with a price for the garden design because every project is unique." I said, "Cool. Do me a favor. Go and get every proposal you've ever sent and just put them in rough piles that are roughly the same value, like within a few £100 of each other. Just roughly put them together." He rang me up a week later. He said, "I'm gutted." I said, "What's up?" He said, "I've only ever done 5 proposals." He said, "And actually out of those 5 proposals, there's only 3 that I actually want to deliver. So all this time I thought I had these unique proposals. I've only ever delivered 3. So the next meeting he went into, rather than going in and leaving with a headache of having to produce a proposal, he went in with the 3 options. They picked there and then. He took a deposit and secured a start date for the project. So he left with cash and a start date rather than leaving with a headache to do a proposal. And the moment you productize your offering, what you do is you switch it from this is what we do to this is how I can impact you. So where I first learned this was in doing some work with a loft conversion company. So I had the same challenge with them. So they're a loft conversion company, and they said, well, every loft conversion we do is different. They might want 1 plug socket, 2, 3, 4, 5 plug sockets. So everything has to be priced differently. I said, no, it doesn't. You could have a home cinema package that has 8 plug sockets and this type of connector and this. You could have a home office package which has up to 6 plug sockets with 3 internet connectors and whatever it may be. You can productize it. You can then have side orders. They can still have a side dish of another whatever, but we're starting off with a productization. And the moment you do that, I'm not selling plug sockets anymore. I'm selling a home office. I'm selling a home cinema, which now flips it to what you want rather than what I'm providing.
So like a home office package or a home cinema package?
Absolutely. It can be a home cinema plus, a home office plus package, but it thinks about what it is that you want. It starts off with the point of saying that nobody wants your products and service. Okay. I don't want a podcast. I don't want a podcasting service. I don't want a filming service. What I want is to be prominent in my industry. I want to attract customers. Okay. And we become too obsessed with the products and service we provide and not obsessed enough with the customer and the difference we're making in their life. So the moment we start with that belief that we can productize our offering, then it forces us to think about the person that we're serving rather than ourselves.
So interesting. And the accountant who you told him that his service was shit,
yeah,
ended up being your business partner. Is that right? Tell us how that happened.
Well, he's a great guy, Paul, and he's coachable. There's not a lot of people who are coachable, and he absolutely was. So he took the feedback well, and his first thing is, right, well, I'm not bothered who's right here. I'm just bothered about what's right. So how do we fix it? How do we make this happen? It could have easily become defensive and we didn't make any progress. So we developed some technology, made some mindset shifts, some cultural changes. I looked at the values of his business and we implemented that bit of tech. Didn't think anything more of it. And then another accountancy firm in Leeds heard about it through a mutual friend and said, how do we get it? I've heard what they're doing. How do we get it? And for years, I'd been, I thought I had a business, but I didn't. I had a job. But I was looking for this idea of how can I build a business, something that I could scale without me and exit ultimately. And as soon as I saw this, I was like, that's it. I've got it. So I contacted my developers and said, do we think we can build this? What price can we do it for? And I realized we had something special. I thought we had something special. So I went back to the accountant, Paul, and I said, look, I'm going to develop this business off the back of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 10% of the business as a thank you for kind of inspiring the project and taking it into the accounting space. But what I want in exchange is 10% of your accountancy firm as well. Now, it was part luck, part judgment, that decision. But what it enabled me to do is the accounting industry, as with many industries, is quite a closed industry. So if I'm stood there and I'm not an accountant, people might think, well, what right do you have to kind of tell us what to do? But now I could stand on stage or on social media posting videos and say, well, as the director of an accountancy firm that charges significantly higher fees than like most of you in this audience here, all of a sudden it gave me immediate credibility. So I wasn't an accountant, but I became the director of an accountancy firm.
So that wasn't strategic.
I don't think it was strategic. I think it was the universe helping me out. And but now if I was to do that again, I would either find a domain expert in the space that brings the credibility, or I would take part of their business and gain the credibility very quickly. Yeah.
What a clever idea.
Well,
I mean, absolutely. So that was how GoProposal came about. Is that right? That was how GoProposal actually came about.
Yeah, that was it.
What was it like? What was the journey like of building that business?
Yeah, so
you knew you were on a winner, but then you have to grow it and make
it
work.
Thought I was on a winner. Thought we had a good space here, and I thought I could do something special. There were other bigger competitors in the space, which is encouraging because it means that there's an appetite for this. I felt I spotted an angle that they hadn't spotted, that we could come in with something a little bit different. And a good friend of mine, Daniel Priestley, I've been following his stuff for years.
I'm a massive fan of Daniel as well. He's amazing.
He's great. What he's able to do is to take complicated business concepts and simplify them and codify them, and then he just gives it away. It's like, this is what you do. So a great book of his was Key Person of Influence.
Yes, I've read that too.
And oversubscribed. So they're two really key books. So I took the premise from those. I knew how to do this. So we kicked the project off to get to develop the software, which was going to take about 3 months to build it out. While that was happening, I wrote a book called Selling to Serve, which was to train accountants in how to sell their services more confidently. And then it kind of subtly sold the product. And we launched a wait list. So these are two great ideas from Dan. And what that means is that I can, in that 3 months while we're building the product, I can be sharing content, posting videos, getting the book out there, and driving people back to a landing page. Once they go on the landing page, you outline what the product's going to solve. People become nervous of doing this because they think that if I share what I'm doing, everyone's going to steal your idea. No one's going to steal your idea. Just get it shared. So I drive people back to a landing page. Are you interested in pricing more confidently, selling at a higher fee, never having to argue about negotiate on fees again, saving time, etc. Sign up here. We've got a product that does X, Y, and Z. Knowing what I know now, what I would then do is I would take them into another one of Dan's products called Score App, and take them into a survey and ask them a series of questions to dig even deeper into what their actual problem is, and also to get a sense of what they'd pay to solve the problem. So you're gathering some fantastic research for that. And so by the time we came to launch, by the time the product was ready, I had a few hundred people on this wait list.
Amazing.
So dropped an email to them, and within a month I had 100 people sign up. So within a month or two, I was at 10K a month of monthly recurring revenue.
That's incredible. I mean, that's absolutely brilliant. I mean, Dan's techniques are amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of Dan as well. I'm hoping he's going to come on the podcast at some point.
We'll get him on.
But did you build your own technology for GoProposal, or did you use existing technology? Some people might be scared of tech. Some people are a bit scared of tech and think, I can't do that. It's really overwhelming. You have to be a real kind of engineer or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll tell you how I solved it, and I'll tell you how you can solve it now, because there's there's some AI stuff out there that is just unbelievable. So I had a great developer that I've worked with for many years. I still work with him. I'm working with him even to this day on projects. And he'd helped me to build WordPress websites, and we developed some tech as WordPress plugins. So I understood that technology. There's two parts of WordPress. There's a conventional WordPress website that people are familiar with, and there's something called a multi-site. So what a multi-site is effectively a central database that kind of manages all of the individual websites, but then each website is a secure install that sits on top of it. And I remember looking at that and thinking, I think that's the same DNA as software, in that you have a central database, secure installs that each people will then have. So I contacted them and said, the developers, and said, do we think we could build it using this? So the equivalent is let's say I was building a new car. Rather than building the engine and the chassis, I've gone to Rolls-Royce and said, can I have your engine, please? And also, will you maintain it and continue to improve it? I'm going to build the chassis on top. So we took the WordPress engine that had the concept of new users, passwords, all the things that you'd need in software, and we effectively built the chassis on top of that. So that was all of our own code and own development.
Amazing. So like powered by tech. Did you include any AI, or was it a bit too soon for that?
That was it's too soon for that. I guess there were some algorithmic things that we did that you could possibly argue as AI, but we wouldn't have termed it as that. Yeah. But now with AI, there's a brilliant piece of software called Replit, REPLIT. And what you can do with that is you can build out software with it. If it's simple software, I think you could use it to actually develop a commercial product and actually go and sell it. If it's more complicated, as its current capabilities, I think it would struggle, but it would still enable you to develop something that kind of works that you could take to a developer. So I'm working with someone at the moment who's used Replit to develop a piece of software, and they're able to think through it and say, no, I don't want it to work like that. I want it to work like this. Can we have that button over there? Oh, I need this database here as well, or whatever. So you can think it through. And unlike a developer who would just get so annoyed if you kept changing your mind, it just keeps coming back and saying, great idea, I'll make this change, right? So it does all that. Then once you've got it to a part where it works, kind of, and maybe there's some bits that you just need tweaking, that's the time to then take it to a developer and say, right, I've been working on this, kind of does what I want it to do. This is where it's struggling. Could you now help me to take it further? And that's what we've done with this last project. So it's a brilliant thing for kind of expressing your ideas.
Yeah, it's a great moment in time. There's so many tools these days, which there wasn't in the past. It's an exciting time to be able to build something, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the beauty with tech is that it keeps you mobile, in that you don't have to be geographically located. And I think with all things going on in the world and changes with taxation in this country or digital IDs or whatever it is that you maybe like or don't like, you could think, well, I could set up this in Portugal, I could set this up in Dubai, I don't need to be here. So it gives you flexibility. And then also the exits that are available with technology, especially with AI now, is just uncomparable to any other industry. You know, you get huge exits off the back of it.
You always had an ambition, didn't you, James, to build something that you could sell?
Yes.
So when you started GoProposal, did you always have exit in mind?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a great book called E-Myth Revisited, which was one of the first books I read when I was starting in my entrepreneurial journey, which is about how do you build a business that runs without you? How do you create a franchisable model of that business that you could hand to someone else and they could run it without you effectively? So that really changed my thinking a lot. And then another great book is called Built to Sell by John Warrillow. So he talks about that with a specific marketing agency of how do you build something that's a saleable asset at the end of it. So it's kind of a journey that you can go on. So most people are operators within their business. They think they're a business owner, but they're not. They've got a job. And it's a shit job because you can't go on a holiday, you can't be sick, you can't do many things, right? So you want to go from, as I describe it, from an operator to an architect, where you're now planning how this is going to work. Then from an architect to a leader, where now you've got so when you become an architect, you're building the systems effectively to run the business. You're the architect of the systems, so you want the systems to run the business. Then you move into a leader, where now you're bringing the people to run the systems. And then the final part is then transition yourself out of that role completely, where you become the owner. And at that point, you have an asset. And so I became very mindful of that journey. And so it was always a business I was going to sell. And from the start, I kind of had an inkling as to who might buy it, or who I'd want to buy it. So there's different people or organizations that you could sell your business to. You could sell it to a private equity, you sell it to investors. If you want the greatest valuation, you want to sell it to someone who you're strategically aligned with and whose roadmap you can shorten. So they've got their own business journey that they're going on with products and features and customers they're trying to attract. So if your product enables them to shorten that because you built it for them so they don't have to build it, they would much rather buy something that's proven than try to build something themselves that might go wrong and various things. So I identified who all the strategic partners would be, which would be the big accounting software companies. And at the start of the journey, I took my logo and I put their name underneath the logo with the colors that they would be. So GoProposal, a Zero product, GoProposal, a Sage product. And I thought it could and hopefully will be one of these.
Is that kind of a form of manifestation?
For
maybe?
sure.
Do you believe in that?
I do believe in that, if you understand the true definition of manifesting. So what people who have learned about manifesting think, I'm going to wish for this outcome and I'm going to sit there and meditate and manifest it into my life. What they don't realize is the tremendous amount of hard work that you've now got to do to manifest it. So people read the book The Secret, right? So The Secret's a great thing about this, about manifesting the future. When they wrote the book The Secret, they then just didn't imagine it was going to be a bestseller. This book, The Secret, has one of the most aggressive marketing campaigns of any book ever. So they didn't just sit and manifest the success of their book. They aggressively went out and sought the success of their book. You with me?
Absolutely.
So I always love looking at the etymology of words. So to manifest means to hold securely in the hands, right?
Yeah.
So you have to go and grab it. And you can't just manifest the outcome. You have to manifest all of the obstacles on the way and how you're going to overcome those obstacles as well. So it requires tremendous hard work, tremendous focus, and not just manifesting the good stuff, but the bad stuff along the way. So it is a form of manifestation. But then what that meant was that because I knew these were potential acquirers, I started to forge relationships with them all from early on. So I would go and talk at their events. I would go and give fireside chats to their team members with the learnings that we had. We'd try and do different partnerships with them, or all sorts of things along the way, so that they knew of our business. I knew all the owners of those companies or the senior people in those companies. So when it came to us being acquired, they already knew what our revenue was at, the size of our audience. So they started to approach us.
What was it like growing the business, James? I mean, what were the hardest parts, the most stressful parts? Because it's not, as you just rightly said, it's hard work building a business. You can't just manifest success. You actually have to do the work. What would you say are the most difficult parts?
Yeah, so I think it's all difficult. Like entrepreneurship is a constant struggle. And when people who are not entrepreneurs and they see the trappings that come with it, maybe a nice car or a nice lifestyle or whatever, it's only if you're an entrepreneur and you look at that and you think that has taken some effort to get there. Like if you've built a solid business, like my friends who are incredible entrepreneurs and have been great mentors to me, like I know what they've been through. I know the difficulties they've been through, and they're fully deserving of all the success they've had. And so I think there's a mutual respect amongst entrepreneurs when they see that.
Can anyone be an entrepreneur?
I've thought about this and I don't know, I think maybe anybody can be, or I think not anybody can be. I think a lot of people can be.
Can it be taught?
I think it can be taught. I think you can learn a lot, but it's how willing are you to change? Are you prepared to change? I think is what it comes down to. And so, which is this idea of coachability. And as I've come to understand, being coachable means if I'm going to coach you in something, so you're where you are now, if you want to get to the next bit and I'm going to coach you in how to get there, you're going to have to understand and accept that what you're doing now is not working. So your current thinking is not right. So you're going to have to change how you're currently thinking in order to get to the next level, which means that you're going to have to accept that what you're thinking and how you're thinking is wrong. And not just wrong now, but it's always been wrong. Okay. and your fundamental belief system may have to change. And so if you imagine the belief system is the legs on your table of your life, okay? So you're currently stable as you are, but if I'm going to challenge and change your belief system, I've got to take some of these legs out. We've got to remove them, which will be a very unstable in process. And you've got to be happy for me to call out your blind spots and to hold you to a higher standard than where you currently are, which is difficult because I've got to say where you're getting it wrong. And most people don't want to accept that because they don't want to fundamentally change who they are. It's too destabilizing for them, okay? And so if you're not prepared to do that, then I don't think you can become an entrepreneur. This is why when I look at people who have had success in sports, I always know that they'll become great entrepreneurs because they will have to have been coached and told where they're getting it wrong. I love watching my daughter. She's a really good athlete. She's a pentathlete and she does netball and hockey. And I remember watching recently a hockey match at school, and their coach, Mr. Hearn, he's a great hockey player himself, right? Great hockey player. And I watched these girls playing. So they were 13 at the time playing, and you're watching this hockey match, and he is shouting at them on the pitch during the game in front of everyone, going, "You're in the wrong position. Get over there. Oh, that isn't fast enough. Oh, that shot was bad. This is what you need to do." And when you first hear it, it's it jolts you because you think, "Oh my God, these are just young girls." And they turn around and they go, "Yes, sir." And they get straight back on with it and they make the adjustment. He's giving critical, which is exactly when they need to receive it in the moment, and they make the adjustment because we're all trying to win this game, right? It's the kindest thing you can give to somebody. But we're taught in society now that we have to accept people as they are. I think that's bullshit. I will not accept you as you are if I can see a better version of you that exists now. I'm going to hold you to that version. But that means I'm going to have a difficult conversation with you, okay? Difficult for me to give and difficult for you to receive. And it can only be delivered through love. I have to care about you enough to deliver this. And I've had many of these conversations with people over the years, and there's few people that want to actually receive it.
It's interesting. It's like that old saying, isn't it? You know, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got.
Correct. And then if you go down, it's the layer down from that's important. So we're talking about what you're doing in terms of what you're getting, but it's fundamentally who you are. So if you continue to be who you are, you will continue to do what you do and you will continue to get what you get. So we have to change who you are. And so when I look on my journey, when I hit stumbling blocks or roadblocks, and it would take me a while to get through them, what I came to learn through a great friend of mine who taught me this was what you have to ask at that point is not what do I need to do differently, but who do I now need to be? What do I need to let go of? What's the belief that is holding me back? What is the new belief that I need to acquire to get me through this? And we need people around us to help us with that, to call out our blind spots, call out our bullshit, call out our limiting beliefs, our conflicting beliefs, and to push us through that. So when you say, can anybody become an entrepreneur? I think technically, fundamentally, you could say yes, but how many people do you know that you could go and tell them about what they're doing now or about their belief and challenge a belief and they will willingly change that belief? It's so few.
And there's also that saying about you are the sum of the 5 people you spend your time with. If you surround yourself with 5 idiots, you'll become the 6th and so on, or 5 millionaires, you'll become the 6th. Do you think that's true?
100%. And I learned that more, the time I learned that the most was when I went through the sale of the business. So through the due diligence process and through the sales process, just because it was the most intense period of my life. So I was up at 4:30 every day. I already had the business that was running without me, so I could focus fully on this activity. But it was just the greatest intense period because the prize, so in terms of manifesting now, I know what the prize is going to be because I've already been told the amount they're going to buy us for. And I also know every obstacle in the way. And at each one of these obstacles, this process either stops or it's allowed to continue to the next obstacle. So all I was doing, I had every milestone written up in my garage. I was just going to stand there looking at them thinking, right, this is the next one. This is what we need to do is get through this. So I just hit one after another. And it was like, if I can get us to this goal, I can change my family's future. I can remove the debt of all of my nearest and dearest family. I can set my children on a different path, right? So the prize was immense.
Stakes are so high.
And I'm going to drag this over, whatever. If I can't find a way, I'm making a way. I'm coming through, right? It was so, I knew what I needed to do. And so the biggest thing I had to focus on and harness was my energy throughout this. And so people don't talk about energy enough in business. We talk about time, we talk about money, but energy is finite. So I needed all of my energy to get through this. And the way I had to do that was I had to cut out people from my life that were either stealing my energy or just not being good for my energy, which involved either removing people, removing them temporarily, removing them permanently, or managing people. So let's say with family, you can't necessarily remove family, can some of them, but you have to manage them, okay, or manage what you say to them. You have to be very careful with what you tell people you're about to do. And we can get into the psychology of that. But anyway.
Interesting.
So I tightened my friendship group so tight to the smallest in my life. If I reflect back through my life, that was my tightest friendship group. And if I think about my family, my mum and dad knew the journey I was on. They didn't know any details. I couldn't have them having any details because that would take my energy away because of how they would react to that. My brother knew everything that I was going through, and he was a great person that I could be talking to on a constant basis. My sister could not know what was happening. I did not want either of my sisters to know that I was on this journey because I couldn't have that in my head at all. So I just cut them out of my life for a year.
How did your wife deal with it? It must have been very stressful for her as well.
Yeah, and again, this is difficult. So my wife is not an entrepreneur. She was a nurse prior to her leaving her job, and I had to get her to leave a job because I needed her time and tax benefits of her not having a job. So I had to manage that. But again, I couldn't share necessarily everything with her because she didn't understand my world, and also didn't fully believe in the vision or the fact that it was possible, I think. And that's not to be detrimental to her in any way at all. But sometimes you're given the dream, you're given the vision, and you can't expect other people to have that same vision or belief as you. So you have to manage that carefully. So it was just a few close friends who had either been on this journey before, they'd sold businesses either once or multiple times. They were the ones I held the closest who could guide me through the journey.
The life of an entrepreneur can be lonely. You do need somebody who you can talk to. You need a sounding board. So
yeah, for sure. And
it was good that you had that network of entrepreneurs who understood the journey you were on. How long did it go on for, James, the process?
So we started in January, I think by then. So there's the first phase, fairly straightforward up to March. And then by March, we got offers. And then the deal closed in October. So what's that? March, April, May, June, July,
about
August,
9 months, is it?
Yeah, it's 7 months. Yeah,
7.
9 with the first part as well.
Yeah.
But like I say, of waking up at 4:30 every day, and then for the first half of it, then 3:30 every day. Not setting an alarm, just my head going ping. This is what I need to do today. These are the 40 questions that have got to be answered by Friday, and some of those questions need 20-page answers. Like this, so 100-hour weeks. Like there's no weekends. So people talk about having to have a business that runs without you. You've just not got to have a business that runs without you. That's not enough. You've got to have a business that grows without you, that can solve problems without you, that can recruit and fire without you if you ever want to sell. Because when I was going through that period, not only was 100% of my time on the exit on this journey, but of the operations director, I had 50% of her time on it. Of my top developer and support staff, 10% of their time was on it. All my staff knew were going through the journey as well, which is very unusual in a sales process. But I wanted to bring them on the journey with me. They knew they were working for a business to sell, and so they came on that journey as well.
Oh, tell me about the day when the deal went through. How did it feel?
As anticlimactic as anything you've ever experienced. So you have this dream and this vision of whatever, achieving this goal, and you've had it for a long time. And because when we did it, I think it was through COVID, on the back end of COVID, when we actually made the sale. So everything was done online. Oh, no, it must have been after that because we did have some in-person meetings. But lots of things were being done virtually. So the process dragged on longer than it should have done, as is with these things, especially if you're being bought by a large PLC, because the level of due diligence they have to go through and the scrutiny that their auditors would put them through means that you have to operate at a very high level. And they brought in top 4 accountancy firms to review everything as well. So great amount of scrutiny, lasted a bit longer than it perhaps should have done. So you're exhausted by the end of this. On that last day, I just thought, I just want to sleep. I always remember thinking, I just need to sleep on this last day. And I'm looking at my alarm like that, my phone when I woke up, and it was 2:30. I'm like, fuck. So 2:30 on the last day I woke up, and then it was a Friday, and anyway, we had to do quite a bit on that last day as well. I was filming and preparing the announcement and various things, and then you're on this call that should have been at 5 p.m. and now it's at 7 p.m. and you've got all these accountants and solicitors and M&A people on the call, and you've been signing shit all day long on DocuSign, just one after another. And my wife was a director, everyone's signing it. She's gathering all these signatures from all these people all day long.
Oh my goodness.
And then eventually in this last meeting, they're like, right, are we all happy with all the signatures? Has everyone got what they want, what we need? Everyone happy? Right. Well, that's that then. Done. Thanks then. Bye. That's the end of the call. So I was on the call in a room on my own. I walked out, went to the kitchen to my wife and kids. I said, it's done. And they were like, yay, cheered, got a bottle of champagne, cracked it open, had a drink. My mum rang me up and said, we're having a party then. I said, I'm off to bed. It's like saying to a marathon runner who's just running like 10 ultra marathons back to back, should we have a party? No, I'm off to sleep.
I completely understand why you felt like that. You must have been shattered.
Yes.
Must have been shattered.
And then here's the next bit then, you thinking that I'll wake up the next day feeling different. Because this is the thing, right? Whatever we're pursuing, we don't want the thing. We're after the feeling that we think the thing will bring. That's ultimate. You don't want the sports car. You want the feeling that you think that sports car will give you when you drive it. Okay, so we're always after the feeling that the thing will bring. So I thought I would wake up the next day feeling differently. I was now going to be a multimillionaire. I was a successful entrepreneur in that I'd built and sold a business, and all the other things that would come with that. I woke up the next day and I didn't feel any different. Okay. And there's a good interview with Johnny Wilkinson, the rugby player, on the high performance podcast. He talks about this, whereby he dreamed of kicking the winning World Cup goal with his brother all his life, did it, kicked the winning World Cup goal for his country, won, thinking he'd wake up the next day, feel like a king or whatever, woke up the next day, didn't feel any different. And then you have to ask the question of, well, what is the feeling that I'm after? And what do I think's missing within me that I'm pursuing? And why do I feel that something external can give me that feeling? So what's missing? And then you have to go on a completely different journey. So that was, and where that then took me was on a downward slope for a long period of time because I wasn't prepared. And the other big thing as well that was the challenge is you get this great thing, okay, this huge amount of cash, which means that you can have freedom of time, freedom of choice, decisions, all these things that we all think we're after. But with that and with the sale of a business also comes loss. You've lost of purpose, loss of your team, loss of anyone ringing you up saying, can you help me to solve this problem?
Did you not carry on working in the business afterwards?
Yeah, I had a 2-year earn-out period. So there's 2 types of earn-out period. One is a contingent earn-out period where you will only get the rest of the money if certain things happen, or a deferred earn-out period whereby it's happening, you're getting the cash, it's just deferred for a period of time. And that's the one you want. So we had a deferred earn-out period.
Okay.
So I just had to work for Sage for the next 2 years, which is a great experience. Some challenges of being an entrepreneur, working in a large corporate, as you'd expect. Not a reflection of Sage, but just of a corporate environment. But the guy that I had work that was my line manager effectively shielded me a lot. My best analogy is like I was Eric Cantona and he was Alex Ferguson. So I did kung fu kick a few people sometimes, but he would kind of shield me from.
Well, I hope you never got the hairdryer treatment.
No. Well, Eric Cantona never got the hairdryer treatment. So even when he did the kung fu kick, do you know about that story?
No.
So he did the kung fu kick So they were losing to Crystal Palace at the time.
Okay.
Kung Fu King. And then I can't remember who it was, Sharp went up to Giggs or something like that and said, thank God he's done that. At least it's taken the pressure off us. At least, we're not going to get a roasting after the match. And they lost the match, went in, and they're all like, and Ferguson went in and just give everyone a bollocking. Sharpie, you were crap on the Giggs. You didn't do that. Like, just give everyone a roasting. And Eric Cantona sat on the end, right? So they're getting round. And they got towards the end and everyone's nudging each other going, get ready for this. Like Cantona's going to proper cop for this. He got to Cantona and went, Eric, you can't carry off like that, pal. And walked off and that was it. Because he understood what he needed and what type of character he was, right? So my guy in Sage understood me and that I was an entrepreneur, and you're going to be a bit more of a risk taker. You're going to be a bit more flighty than other people.
Of course.
And he protected me. So it was
lucky that you had him.
Definitely, it could have been a very different experience without that, but he knew how to manage me in relation to the rest of the company.
And once you'd sold the business and you worked at Sage for a bit, what were your thoughts? Were you thinking, I want to start another business, or I just want to have a few years off? What was in your mind for the next chapter?
Yeah, it's difficult because the conversation I had with my family and with my wife was that you've done it. Like you've won the game, you've got to where you need to be. And so there was this sense that I'm just going to, like people ask me, I'm just going to chill now. I'm just going to, figure out what I want to do next and just take some time, whatever, and spend more time with the family and all this stuff.
That's a classic line, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's bullshit. And one of the things is that we pursue our goal. We have our goals of what we want to do. And what we might say is, the reason I'm doing this is to give my family a better life, okay? Yeah. Or to do this, or to do that. But one thing that entrepreneurs don't talk about is, but the reason you do it is because you just love doing it, okay?
Because you're an entrepreneur.
Because you're an entrepreneur.
Deep down.
But you can't say that. You can't say to your wife, why are you having to go to that event? Why are you having to travel to America? Why are you having to work till 2 a.m.? Why am I staring at that little glowing apple on the back of a computer for every night? You can't say, because I just love doing it. I love it. It's great. It's what I'm here to do. It's what I'm put on the earth to do. You tell yourself and other people, it can give us a better life. We can, do this, do that, more opportunities and stuff. So you have to acknowledge what it is that you fundamentally are, which for me, I got to the top of this mountain, but I'm a mountain climber. That is what I come to understand. And there was a long period of time where I wasn't mountain climbing anymore. And then I started to kind of do some posts on socials and started to get my hand back in the game, started to make some investments into businesses. And I remember someone ringing me up saying, what are you doing? Like, what do you mean? He says, you've won the game. Just stop and go and enjoy life. And I enjoy life by doing this, by playing this, by helping other people to grow through what I've grown through. I love sharing. One of the big drivers for me with entrepreneurship was I wanted to figure it out. I had some questions like, how do you build a business that runs without you? How do you have an amazing team that will drive this business forward to your standards without you having to be there? What are the only ways that you can grow the revenue of a business? What are the only ways that you can grow the profit of a business? How do you get a constant flow of your dream customers? How do you get a constant flow of staff wanting to work with you? I had all these questions in my mind. How do you build a business? How do you exit? How do you become a millionaire? I had all these questions and I answered it, and I wanted to answer them for myself, but I wanted to answer them so I could pass it on. Yes. I wanted to pass it on to anyone behind me. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, because I got so many people ahead of me. Yeah. And so many people ahead of me pulled me up and helped me on that journey. So I want to be able to pass back what I've figured out. And I always say, I've not figured it all out at all. And my answers that I've arrived at might not be your answers, but I think there's something here. I think we've cracked something that I want to be able to pass on to people who want to kind of move on that journey as well.
And you're very motivational, James. And, it would be a shame not to leverage that, not to utilize that. And you've got a lot of entrepreneur friends. And can we talk about where you've just been? You've just been somewhere incredible, haven't we? Am I allowed to talk about that?
For sure.
So tell people where you've just been.
Yeah. So a few months ago, I got a voice note from Daniel Priestley saying, I've got a trip planned to Necker Island. I'm inviting 20 of my closest and best entrepreneurial friends. Would you like to come? And I'm like, yes, I'm in. Let's go.
How many seconds did it take you to say yes?
It didn't take me many seconds to say yeah. But the interesting bit is once I'd said yes, I then started to talk myself out of it. And I started to think, do I deserve to go? Should I go? It felt indulgent to be going on something on my own without my family. So I started to talk myself back out of it. We all have this self-talk that kicks in. And what's interesting, what I've come to learn is that, like, you have version 3 of you. Let's say I'm up to version 3 of me now, but I've got version 1.6 making this decision for me about Neckar. Version 3 of me immediately said yes, and then version 1.6 said, hang on a minute, can we afford this? Do you have the right to go? And all this stuff, right?
Interesting.
So I had to go through that. It's what's called a Strive event, which is put on by Richard Branson's nephew and his son Noah and Sam, and they put on these events around the world. It's an amazing organisation, and there's a big charitable part to what they do as well. But this is kind of their main event on Neckar Island with Richard Branson. So you're with him for the whole week. You're having breakfast with him, lunch with him, dinner with him. And each day there's a huge physical challenge, whether it's a hike, mountain bike ride, 4K swim, whatever it may be, that everyone does. And Richard, who's 76, burned past everyone.
Wow.
Like, it was unbelievable. Bearing in mind that I'm quite a fit person. I train every day. There were people way ahead of me, like 30-year-old triathletes and ultramarathon runners and stuff. He just burned past them. He trains for 3 hours a day. He has an hour's tennis coach in the morning, an hour kite surfing, half an hour in the gym, another hour of tennis. Amazing.
Did he give you any advice that stuck with you?
Loads of advice. I was able to sit and have some like one-to-ones with him and ask him some personal questions. The 2 big things I took from it was, one is about the level of fitness. And that if you're not as fit as you can be and as energized as you can be, you can't achieve anything else that you want to do as well, or you'll be limited in what you can do. So to just be 76 years old and absolutely fit, there was no other outward display of wealth from him. There was no watch, there was no clothes. Obviously, he had his own island in paradise, so that did count for something. But it was his fitness, and to be training every day for multiple hours a day with fun, connected sports events was amazing. So that was the big thing, a real big takeaway I've taken
Looking
away.
after yourself, yeah.
Yes, to a whole other level. Like, I was training a year ago 6 days a week, and I remember making the decision to train 7 days a week. And people say, oh, it's too much, you should have a rest day. And I've decided, no, you don't. You don't need a rest day at all. Like, I'm going to train more now. And then the other big thing was this idea of unlimited thinking. So I've talked for years to people about limiting beliefs. I learned that from Tony Robbins, and I think I've removed a large amount of my limiting beliefs, and I help other people to remove theirs. What I realized when I was there was that I'm full of shit, and that I've got so many limiting beliefs that just because I've got less limiting beliefs than the majority of people around me doesn't mean to say that I don't have limiting beliefs. And I think when I got to the top of my mountain with the sale of my business, I feel I reached what I thought was the peak, that I couldn't see beyond that point. Just being there and being around not only him, but other people as well, I'm like, what am I even doing? So I remember saying to him, I had a question. I want us to move to a farm, and I want us to move a little bit out of the area that we're currently living in, which is a bit of a challenge for my wife and my kids because they're at school, they've got friendship groups, but I feel it's the next step for us. So I want us to make this next step. But my vision for our future is now not quite aligned with my wife's, okay? So I just said to him this question, Richard, you've achieved all these great things. If you've got a vision that's beyond your wife's vision, like, how do you kind of get yourself to make that decision? He said, well, the time I decided to hot air balloon around the world, I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm here thinking trying to move 10 miles down the road, right? And he's hot air ballooning around the world. Bearing in mind, when he was brought this idea, there'd been 6 attempts up to that point and 5 people had died doing it, okay? So this is a big decision that he's going to go and do. So he told his wife, Joan, that he was going to go around the world on a hot air balloon, and said, do whatever you want to do, but if you die, I'm not coming to your funeral.
Gosh.
So we just got on with it. And it's not only that he's achieved, if you reflect on what he's done, what he's achieved in business, incredible things, setting up an airline, because his flight was cancelled. So he went and chartered a plane, sold tickets to other people in the airport, and then hired a plane from Boeing, set up his first airline and was away up against British Airways, So you've got all that. You've got all of his sport, like world record attempts, sailing around the world, hot air ballooning around the world and various things. But then when he's talking to you and he's telling you about when he got 39 hostages released from Iraq, when Saddam Hussein refused to speak to any other government, but he contacted the King of Jordan, who reached out to Saddam Hussein, who connected them together, and he recognized that they needed medical supplies. And he said, well, if I fly them in personally, I will come on the plane, I will meet you on the runway. If I bring the medical supplies myself, can we take the 39 hostages away? And they agreed to do it.
Incredible.
Like, just to think, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's an incredible fitness achievement, a world record attempt, business, I have no limit to whether I can do this or not. I'm just going to go for it. And it was sat there having breakfast one day, and he was telling me a story about the nickname that his grandson gives him. And he was telling me this story. He's like, yes. And so the time I went to space, and he's carrying on. I said, stop. Can we just stop for a second? Sorry. You just said the time I went to space, and we all just like, that's a normal conversation. Like, I think it's exotic that I've come to Necker Island and you're doing this.
Yeah, it's just amazing, isn't it? You just drop that in conversation, that time I went to space.
So yeah, that's the big thing for me that I took from there, the unlimited thinking. And the same with the people that were there as well, that it attracted there. Like, I thought I've done well, and then you're talking to someone and you're like, I've done nothing compared to what you've done. So just hugely inspiring with the people that were there as well.
Do you still feel really ambitious, James? Do you still have fire to achieve more, to keep going?
Yeah, and it's an interesting one, because what people will say to you is, but when is enough enough? And if you're constantly chasing, let's say it's money, the answer is it will never be enough. I read a book recently, and it talked about how, like, they'd interviewed like a series of entrepreneurs that had sold the business. Some had 5 million in the bank, some had 10 million, some had 100 million. And they all asked, what's enough? And without exception, they all said it was 3 times more than what they had now.
Gosh.
And so if you're coming from that point, you're coming from a position of lack, and a position of fear. And so I don't think that's actually a healthy motivator to keep wanting to do something. And so for the last few years, I've been on a real journey. I had a full crash, a full breakdown at one point on this journey where, like, I thought the world was coming to an end. And I'm from a rough mining village. If you told me that someone had a breakdown, I'd be like, tell them to get a grip. I had a physical, on the floor, side of the road, actual breakdown, and then managed to assemble a different set of people around me. In the first instance, it was my wife, and then it was my a therapist that I got, and then a mentor, and then another mentor. And the therapist grabbed hold, and I just felt she had me. I wasn't going to slip any further. And then she pulled me out from where I was.
Was it burnout?
It wasn't burnout, no. It was that sometimes you have to break down. Like, we think that we have to resist a breakdown, but sometimes you have to break down in order to become the next version of yourself. And sometimes to resist the breakdown is to prevent that growth. So I remember a friend of mine years ago telling me about how a caterpillar turns into a butterfly. So I always thought, like, a green caterpillar kind of shrinks into like a black caterpillar and then sprouts wings in the cocoon, right? But what happens is they actually fully liquefy. So the caterpillar becomes a soup inside, and then a battle happens between the caterpillar cells and the imago cells of the butterfly, and they go backwards and forwards, and it eventually re-emerges as the butterfly. And if you were to cut it open, you could pour the liquid out of the cocoon. And then when a butterfly is ready to emerge, butterflies have teeth that I didn't know about. They bite the way out of the cocoon, and there's a direct correlation between the struggle it takes them to bite the way out and how long they'll live for. The greater the struggle, the longer they live. If you release the butterfly and cut it out, it would die immediately. And so there's points in our life where we need to break down, we need to melt down, because a new version of us is emerging. And so the therapist helped me to understand that part of the process. And then my mentor was fantastic. And what he helped me to do was what he called preparing for the second half of life. So he works with CEOs and entrepreneurs who've been through this journey. And it's understanding that the second half of life is different to the first half. And when I met him, I was in half time. And I had the scaffolding up around me effectively to kind of help with this rebuild. And he helped me to get back out onto the pitch. And I think what I've always been good at is recognizing these moments and being able to say, help.
What caused the breakdown that you had?
I think it's kind of what I alluded to before, that we think that we're striving for this thing because we think it'll give us a feeling, we think it's going to complete me or whatever it may be. And then to recognize that it hasn't then makes you question, well, what am I lacking? What did I think needed fixing, or what was the feeling I was looking for? Why did I think something external would solve this? And so that then required some internal work to go and kind of figure some shit out. And we've all got that. We've all got internal questions and what I have come to know as what's classed as small t trauma. So some people have had capital T trauma in their life, you know, horrific events that have happened to them. But we've all experienced small t trauma in that we've experienced things in our lives, whether it's people close to us or whatever, that we were perhaps too young to fully understand. And looking back as an adult, we can say, oh, I know what that was, and I know why that person behaved like that way towards me, or I know why that event happened. I can rationalize it as an adult. But as a child, there was no file. I couldn't say, oh, I know why this is happening, so I'm going to file it away here. So what happens is the child just, there's a good book called The Body Keeps the Score. They just take it on emotionally. So it swirls around emotionally, this thing. And then it only needs an event in life to kind of trigger that emotion, and we react in a certain way, and we don't know why we're reacting. And it's because we never, as a child, were able to process that thing. So I think we've all got, I think it's useful to do inner child work and to dig into that and to process that. I don't think it's good to stay there. I don't think it's good to do that forevermore.
Do too much.
So at some point you say, well, I've processed enough, I've figured enough out.
Yeah.
I'm never going to complete the whole lot. But I've done enough to crack on.
And I
things.
think, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs, when they've been as successful as you have, and maybe they've exited, there's a whole identity issue, isn't there, afterwards?
Yeah.
And I think it is quite common for entrepreneurs to struggle afterwards.
I don't think it's common. I think it's inevitable. So if you look at, they did a study of what was they were trying to figure out what are the traits of successful entrepreneurs. And they did this big study. I can't quote it because I can't remember where the study was. But they were trying to find, like, do they all do the same thing? Do they all wake up at 5 a.m. and have an ice bath? Do they all whatever, right? And they couldn't find anything in common except for 3 things. So the first one was an unrealistic view of what was possible. Like, you just believed I can conquer the world, I can climb this mountain that was way beyond your current skill set. It's unrealistic, right? So they had this unrealistic view. But they also had doubt and self-belief issues and believed they weren't good enough. And it's the fluctuation between, I can achieve this incredible thing, there is no mountain too great for me, to, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm a, you know, what's the word?
Fraud,
what's the other thing? Like imposter syndrome.
Oh, imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome is real.
Yes. So we have this. I don't think it's necessarily a syndrome. I think it's just we're all imposters as well, you know. So for a successful entrepreneur, you have to have this belief that you can achieve incredible things and complete doubt that you're not good enough.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, how do I become better at that? By doing this. Okay, well, now I can achieve even more, but I'm not good enough at that. So you need this fluctuation. So I had this for years, okay, but I didn't know how to channel it. So it would go off track as I was growing up. And the way I would handle that would be with drugs, if I may say. So when I was in my younger life, so I would smoke a lot of weed because I had this, I couldn't figure out, there was something wrong. And that was how I handled that emotion. Self-medicating, which we do there's many ways that people will do that, right? Then I came to understand how to control that and went through that journey there, which is very useful. And the bit that was missing from this, which is the third trait that a successful entrepreneur needs, is focus. So you've got this thing, but it's been channeled in a direction. And it's if those 3 elements are in place, amazing view of what you can achieve, complete self-doubt, and focus towards a driven goal, that's the traits of a successful entrepreneur. But then, by the very nature of those 3 components, when you now arrive, the self-doubt that is the bit that you now think is going to disappear. So you get to the point, you achieve the goal, you're at the top of the mountain, you get the cash, whatever it is, you got the car, you got the house, you got all the things. You think the self-doubt is now going to go, and it's still there. And then you have to think, shit, well, what is causing that? What's caused that? And now you have to do this inner work. And I think it was a combination of that combined with As an entrepreneur, one of my key drivers was constant paranoia. You're constantly thinking that something's going to go wrong. A good entrepreneur is constantly paranoid. So you're always looking down the road. Where could the collision occur, right? Once the business is over, that muscle, that paranoid muscle that you've been flexing and building up that's served you so well to get to that point doesn't just disappear. So now you've got time and you're doom scrolling, you can go down as many rabbit holes as you want and you can apply worry to, but what if this happens and what if we lose this and what if that? And the other thing, sorry, I'm layering all this up now because I'm realizing it all. My identity was attached to being an apple tree. I was a tree with strong roots, strong tree, capable of withstanding tough weather conditions, and I could produce fruit. Okay. I've now sold that, got a mother load of fruit, and now my identity was with apples. And I could lose them, wrongly invest them, have them stolen, some could rot. So I became attached to this. The big mindset was, in this world, I was playing to win. In this world, I was playing not to lose. Okay. So I went from, an abundant mindset to a scarcity mindset. So all these little things that have happened just go chick, 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 and just take you a few degrees off course. And before you know it, you're heading over the cliff and you don't even realize why.
Interesting. And it's very self-aware of you to be able to see what was happening now. Although when you were in it, you couldn't see it, but you've done that work on yourself to recognize that.
To recognize it and to be able to pass that on as well. I want to be able to help people who are going through that journey to be able to understand that, because there isn't the support there for entrepreneurs. And also, you can't like do a post on Facebook saying, hey guys, I'm really struggling, just got all this cash, all this time, it's a nightmare. So, like you have no right to complain, but you've lost a lot of things. There has been loss. You've not kind of grieved that loss. You've gained this thing. If you have no right to complain, you've got a few people that you can reach out to get the support that you need. And I know of entrepreneurs who have gone down, that have sold, and horrific things have happened to them. Gone in terrible, terrible ways have happened because I don't think they've had that support afterwards.
Yeah. And it's a bit like you did the sporting analogy earlier. It's a bit like when footballers stop playing football, and there's, that situation is real. But talking about helping others, James, and you are currently writing another book.
Yes.
Are we allowed to say what the working title is? Or?
Yeah, so it's Scale Fast and Exit is the book.
Why did you decide to start writing another book, to do another book?
Yeah, so I've written 3 books so far. The first book was just to be able to understand the process of writing a book. It was just a test experiment. Then the next 2 were help me to scale GoProposal, and they actually the first version of them wasn't particularly great. They were good, they weren't great, but they became refined over the years, and they're really solid books. They're the highest rated book in the accounting industry for how to grow a practice, and they're highly reviewed, and they're translated into 4 or 5 languages.
Amazing.
So they're really good. And then this one is about, I wanted to be able to pass on my entrepreneurial learnings, and how I overcame the challenges, because I think we arrived at some interesting conclusions along the way. And I really wanted to be able to pass it on to my children. So if my children ever set up a business, I wanted to be able to just say, look, this is what I did. Again, not figured it all out. My answers aren't necessarily your answers, but these are the foundations. And the key bit here is foundations. And I've not really seen, or I don't even know of anyone that's been talking about this stuff. So in business, you're trying to do 2 things, one or the other at any one time. You're either trying to fix shit that's broken, or you're trying to grow it and make it better, right? So you're constantly doing that. So you're growing it, and then all of a sudden there's a fire over here. Shit, let's go and fix that. Right, let's try and make it better. So you're constantly moving between those 2 things, right? If you took that analogy to a house, so let's say, for example, you've got a crack on a house and it's damaged, okay? Or you're wanting to grow your house by another story and add it on. You wouldn't just repair the crack, and you wouldn't just add on another story. The first thing you would do, a good builder would look at foundations. So if you had a crack and a problem in the building, right, well, what's caused this? Are the foundations strong enough? Are they deep enough? Have they become unstable? How do we shore up the foundations? I'll do that. Then we'll fix the crack to make sure it never occurs again. If you want to add another story on, how many stories? Right, let's go back to foundations. Let's build those out and let's move up. So it's this idea of growing into foundations with a business. And we don't want to do it because it's dark, it's dirty, it's seemingly unrewarding because it can feel like you're moving backwards, but it's essential.
Bit treacherous, maybe.
Yes, for sure. Things could collapse on top of you. It's essential and it's cyclical. So what you have to do is you grow up and then you grow back down. You grow up, you grow back down. This is the constant journey of the entrepreneur. And so what I wanted to do was to write a book where I talk about this underground work of growing into foundations. It's not sexy. It doesn't make for an interesting social media post. You know, people want the 6 strategies to do this, the blueprint to do that. Yeah, but it's not going to work if you've not got the foundations in place. So when I look at a business, I look at the challenges or why haven't you grown? I just dig back into foundations. Well, show me, let's have a look at our core values of the business. What are your belief systems? What are the systems the business are running on? Show me the playbook for how this works. And if I can fix the foundations, I know that then what we do on top will solve it really quickly. I had a really nice phone call on the way here, a message from someone based on a conversation I'd had with her 2 months ago. And said, you've increased the efficiency of our business by 30%.
Amazing.
From a conversation. And it wasn't, I didn't give a tactic or a strategy. It's because I fixed the foundational issue. And so the growth off the back of a foundational fix can be exponential. So what this book is about is, I think it's going to be 3 books. I think I'm going to split it into, it's going to be the Scale Fast and Exit trilogy, I think it will be.
Yeah.
And it's going to be split into Start Strong, Scale Fast and Exit Big. They're going to be the 3 parts to it. And one of the big things, it's applicable to any business, but it's specifically about a tech business. I share my journey. And people might think, well, I'm not building a tech business. If you're building a tech business, it's great. I'm not building a tech business, but my challenge should be, well, maybe you should be. So one of the people that I've helped for the last couple of years is a really good friend of mine. He's a physiotherapist. And when I first met him, he was just a one-man band. So he was treating people, but I could see he had a real spark, very coachable, and very driven. So over the years, I've just been sharing things with him, helping him to systemize his business, take on members of staff, build marketing funnels and processes. So then he got to his first clinic, second clinic, third clinic. Now he's at about £1 million revenue. The whole thing runs without him. He's got a constant flow of customers queuing up. He's got a waiting list of customers. He's now got a waiting list of staff. He's solved all the key problems that physiotherapists happen. Honestly, they're unbelievable. They've done wonders with me and wonders with other people. So now you've got a driven entrepreneur. Where does he now go next? Does he franchise his business out? Does he take on the next premises? Well, if you've got a bricks and mortar business or a service-based business, that is hard to grow because you need a new building, you need new staff. You know, it's a difficult business to scale. The next logical thing is to say, well, is there some tech we could develop within here? Is there a problem that you've solved or that needs solving that we could develop a small amount of tech for? So I've termed this idea, this concept of small tech, big exit. Like, you don't need to develop a Facebook. You don't need to develop an Instagram. The likelihood is of you doing that is zero. You're not, just because someone does win the lottery doesn't mean say that it's worth you buying a ticket. The chance of you winning the lottery is, you might as well assume, is zero. The chance of you building a unicorn business is zero. And I'm not saying this to be defeatist. I'm saying this is not helpful, right? You don't need to create a unicorn business when you can build a racehorse business, in my mind, right? My business, GoProposal, solved a small problem for one industry, mainly in one country. We did have a few clients in other countries, but mainly in one country. And I sold it for a life-changing sum, okay? So why not do that? I remember when I came to sell my business, I had a phone call with Gary Vaynerchuk, and I told him where I was in my journey and what I wanted to do. And I said, look, these are the offers I've had. Should I exit? Should I keep going? He says, I know what you think I'm going to say. You think, based on what people hear me saying all the time, you think I'm going to say hustle, grind, get it to the next bit, get it to 100 million. I'm not. Sell the business, bank the cash, go again, do it again, do it again, do it again. So what I'm helping Joe, the physio, to do now is he's got his business working without him. We've now developed a piece of software. We've got 3 other physios using it now as a test. It's been in testing. Tonight, the payment mechanism gets added on. We've got the next 15 customers will go on tomorrow paying us. And he's got an online course that he's going to develop. So now I can see how he can build real assets in those and sell them for several £1 million in the future without having to scale these, bricks and mortar service-based businesses. So that's the premise of the book that I'm looking to pass on.
Absolutely amazing. And obviously with the digital transformation that everyone's experiencing, internet and so on, it's much more accessible for service businesses to do something like that now.
Yeah, for sure. And like when I was talking about Replit before, and with ChatGPT, you can use ChatGPT to help you to think through ideas. I just have a conversation with it like it's my mate. I've got this idea. I'm thinking I could do it. What do you think? Is anyone else doing it or whatever? So it will help me to think through ideas. And then when I've done that, I'll say, right, now this is what I say. I always talk to ChatGPT rather than type in. If you talk, you can be much more expressive and you'll have a paragraph that long versus typing 2 sentences, right? So I'll just talk in it while I'm on a walk. So I'll chat through an idea. Okay, I think I'd like to create a minimal viable product with this. I'd like to get the first version of it done. Can you help me to put a scope together that I can copy and paste into Replit to kick it off to go and build this out for me? Just go build it. Give me the script.
Amazing.
I take the script, I drop it into Replit, I build it out, play about with it, knock it about, go and give it to a few people and see what they think. And then I can take it to my developer and get a price for it.
Yeah. That's such a great idea. And James, you've got children. You're talking about your family, your wife, and your kids. There's a lot of entrepreneurs online who don't have children, who talk about work all weekend. I actually think you're very good at advising entrepreneurs who've got family and integrating it into their life. Because when you've got a business, you're kind of CEO of your family as well as your business, aren't you?
Yeah.
Can you still be ultra successful when you've got a family?
For sure. I think it's to know that everything good comes at a cost. And so to get to a business to £1 million in revenue will come at a cost. To get that business to £10 million, £100 million in revenue will come at a greater cost. And it's what cost you're happy with. I think I've been very present for my children. I prioritized my family throughout the growth of the business. One of my primary goals was to take my kids to and from school every day, which I did, and I still do, with the exception of today, coming here. So I had to ring my dad up. My dad took the kids to school today. But other than that, even this week, other than this morning, I will have taken my kids to and from school every day. I cherish that time and I love it. And that was a priority for me in growing the business. Occasionally, I'd have to go and travel and go to events and things like that. But if I was going to an event, let's say a Xerocon in London or whatever it may be, my team knew that I was on the last, as soon as that event finished, I was on the last train. If there was an after party or whatever, fine, I'm not going to it. I've done the job. I love them. I love all them people there. I just love my family more.
Yeah.
So get me back to my family as fast as I can. So that was always the goal. I attended every sports day, every parents' evening. I cooked most meals of an evening for my family. So very present. I'll admit my head wasn't always present. I could be there with them, playing, doing something, and my head's on a million other things. I think you have to forgive yourself for that type of stuff. And I think the best gift you can show to your kids is, you want to be present for them, but you also want to be driven. They want to see you going and doing things. And since I've sold my business, I've actually sat them both down, the youngest two, who are now 14 and 15, and said, look, guys, what do you want from me? Like, you're going to be at home, certainly for the next few years. You're at school now. Do you want me to be fully here and attentive to you? Do you want me to be taking you to every after school club? Do you want me to be with you all the time? Like, you can have whatever version of dad you want me to be. And they both said, I want you to get on with the next thing. Like, that excites us, seeing you lighting up and getting on with the next thing. That's the version of me that they want. So we want to be there for them, want to be attentive.
That's brilliant.
Not overstress the work-life balance thing, but also to be driven and kicking on with the next. Did I answer your question there? I feel like I just
you absolutely did.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. With the gurus without kids, I just think shut the fuck up. Like, you can give me advice and tell me to hustle and stuff like that, but if you don't have kids, you have no idea what you're talking about, because they don't give a shit about anything else. They don't care whether you're ill, hungover, busy. They want your attention. They want it now. So, like, your kids are startups as well. There were 2 babies when I was like growing the business. So I've got this startup and these 2 primary startups. That was like my 3rd startup. These are my main startups that need all of your attention. And I do think that the way you raise your children is actually helps you to build a better business if you're able to raise your children right.
Absolutely. James, it's been so fascinating talking to you. You're so energized. It makes me feel really inspired for the future, actually. But can I just ask you as a final question, what do you want to do next? What are your ambitions now going forward? I know you've got your book and you're busy with your family, and you do invest in some businesses, but is there anything in particular? Do you want to do another business, or have you not decided yet?
Yeah, so I've invested in a couple of businesses which have worked out well, and they're good and they're interesting, and they just kept me busy in a time when I needed to get my head back in the game. We've just launched, like I said, with a physio, we're just about to launch a software business there. And so I had a series of questions I wanted to get answered before, and now it's another series of questions that I want to get answered, which is, okay, I was the domain expert and the developer, the business owner at that time. How do I do it where I've got another domain expert and I'm the kind of the entrepreneur in this and helping to drive that business forward? How does that work? It took us 5 years to get to £1 million in revenue. Can we get to £1 million in revenue in 12 months this time? Can we get to a bigger valuation than we got before by having an AI component in the business? So I've always been a curious person, and I just want to answer these questions. So I answered them in the first business, and the book will pass those answers back on to anyone else that wants them. And now I've got new questions. And can I not do it with one business? Can I do it with 5 businesses and 10 businesses? And can I do it by even being more attentive with my children and becoming fitter and stronger and healthier? And I want to set up an art studio and become a portrait painter and be more present with my wife and do all of these things as well. Because, unless you're rich in all of these areas, then you're very poor. You could have millions of pounds in the bank, but you're not spending time with your kids, you're unhealthy, you're not pursuing your interests and things, and therefore you're as poor as someone who has nothing in the bank. We have to be aware of all these pots with our friendships. That's been one of the biggest things I've done in the last couple of years, really reconnected with friends and built closer bonds with my friends. Spiritually growing and developing more. I say more time with my wife. So I think she'd probably argue and saying I'm not. But trying to develop other areas of my life as well.
It's a lifelong journey. Growth is a lifelong journey.
For sure.
Thank you so much, James. It's been absolutely fascinating, and I'm very excited to see what you do next. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you.
Success Means Business is brought to you by Applehead Media.